Today let us start this probability distributions. Okay. So all of you must have had some experience on probability functions or probability distributions, etc. in earlier classes. So we start from the beginning. So now let us look at the discrete probability distributions. So for that, now let us look at a random variable n. So n is a random variable, takes integer values, and so for a particular event, so there is some event, okay. So there is some event, so this is a random variable. So the random variable n can take some subspace of the integers or set of the integer n, means integer values, okay, because n takes values basically integers. So S is a sample space. So what is a sample space? So sample space is basically is a set of values the random variable n can take, okay. It can be a subset of integers. Now what is, so we call Pn is the probability to occur a particular random variable n. So Pn is a probability to occur a particular random variable n. So these definitions are clear, right? There is a random variable n, and S is the sample space of the event you are talking about. Then Pn is the probability to occur a particular random variable n. So now we can define the average of n as, so this is a probability to occur a given random variable n, right? So the total probability will be equal to 1. Okay. So total probability is 1. Now what is the average of n or mean of n is summation Pn n. Okay. So what are the n values it can take, and probability for each of that n you multiply and find the sum, that is the average n. If you want to find out average n square, you can do n square Pn. So from this,
Sir,
yeah.
how we get this averages Pn into n?
Okay, one way you can see it as take it as a definition, okay. Okay, otherwise you can actually, okay, so you want to see how that is happening. For example, there is some event, okay. So that event can take values, say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Suppose that event can take the values, this is a sample space, so n, so the sample space is this, okay, and n can take values either 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 or 6. Now suppose each of these random variable are having equal probability. Suppose each of them are having equally probable. What does it mean? the probability to occur 1 will be what is that equal to?
1 by 6.
1 by 6. P2 1 by 6 and so on. P6 is equal to 1 by 6. Okay. So now if I find out average of n, what are I going to get? What I am going to get? Okay. According to that formula, if I find out average n, what I am going to get?
So sum of all the elements upon 6.
Sum of 1, so basically 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 divided by 6, right? This is what I get according to that. So what will be this number? It will be close to the middle, close to what? Can you tell me what is this number equal to?
3.5.
3 divided by
3.5.
3.5. Okay. So this is what you get. Okay. Now how will you understand that number 3.5? Why that is an average n? What do you mean by that? Okay. Now you suppose this is a die, right? So because all the sides of a die is equally probable. Now you do 100 times you toss the die. Okay. 100 times you do the die. So what you get? Each of them are equally probable, right? Each of them are equally probable, and maybe one appeared out of 100. Okay, one maybe appeared around 100 by 6. Okay, on an average, right? That is why P1, P2, P3 and all you get 1 by 6 on an average. So the average, you actually earlier in your mind the concept is what? Take the random variable, you add them all together divided by 100, right?
Yes, sir.
Right? So now don't look at this definition. So you made this, toss this die 100 times. So 1 appeared say twice, 2 appeared means 10 times, 2 appeared 11 times and so on. Okay, what is approximately 100 divided by 6?
16 point.
Okay, on an say around 16, right? So around 16 times 1 can appear, 17 times 2 may appear, okay. But there are, because say number of events, say number of times you do this, it should be very large, okay, then only you get average quantity, nice quantity. So now you can see that when you do that 100 times, what you do is, suppose it appeared 100 times, 10 times, 16 times, you do what you do? 16 into 1, right? 16 into 1, then this 17 times 17 into 2 and so on. So you get total, so basically you add all the random variable numbers you got and divided by 100, that will be the average quantity. With that quantity is equal to this for a very large number of trials. Yes or no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Will be.
Yes. So that is why, so you have been doing maybe this way, okay, adding all the whatever the variable you got and taking the mean is basically divided by the total number of trials, okay. That is what you may be doing. So now you see what basically here is for n is equal to 1, okay, how many times, what is the probability to occur that, plus n is equal to 2, what is the probability to occur that you have to do. But in this case all of them are equally probable. But suppose there is another event, there is a very high probability for 6 and very low probability for 1, okay. Suppose 6 is having a probability say 5 by 6. Okay. So P6 is having 5 by 6 and P1 is having 1 by 6. Okay. Is it possible?
No, sir.
It is possible provided
Provided
all other probabilities are 0. So take all other things are 0. Okay. So probability to occur P, yeah, then that is not even a sample space. It is basically like a coin toss. Okay. So this you can take it as a probability for success, and this is you can take it as a probability for failure. So failure happens 5 out of 6 times. The success happens 1 out of 6 times. So now, if you apply that formula, what are you going to get? Average n. One by 6. Tell me.
So we will get 5.1 approximately.
5.1.
1.
5.1. Approximately 5.1. What does it basically meaning? Suppose you, now the sample space is just 1 and 6 and you say 100 times you do this. Okay. So most of the times you are going to get 6, right? Most of the times you are going to get 6. Sometime you get 1 also. And it is more towards the number 6. So that is why averages came as 5.1. So that is basically if the probabilities are fixed, okay, if the probability to occur a given event is fixed, okay, then this is basically the average. Okay, if it is success and failure, suppose both are having the equal probability, that is 1 by 2, 1 by 2. If they are having the equal probability, what you get average n? In that case, okay, average n is equal to 1, you can call it as a success, and n is equal to 2 as a failure. So what will be average n? Equal probability, yeah?
1.5.
1.5. It is in the middle, right? So it is, so you after time, suppose 100 times you toss the coin, you can get 50 times. You may see that is, see that the trial number of trials and the getting thing is something, because this value what you are going to get here will be the for a large number of trials. That answer will come to this. If that is basically the probabilities, you see, this is the probability for the success is half and probability for the failure is half. Obviously 100 times when you toss the coin, 50 times you should get the success head or the success, and 50 times you fail. Okay, so you get 1.5, that is average. 1.5 is mean between success and fail. Okay, so but you sometimes you may get 51 or 49. Okay, but if you increase the large number, the probability goes to half. Okay, so is it clear now what is that definition is now? Yes? Yeah. So what will be the variance? So variance of n is average of n square minus average of n square. Okay. Yes, so where were we? So variance of n, it is average n square minus average n whole square, right? So this how do you get? This is basically you find out the average of n minus average n, okay, square. So this is equal to this. All of you can show that, right? This is equal to this. But what you are doing is, from each random variable whatever you are getting, you are subtracting the mean, okay, or average, then taking the square, okay, and taking the average, okay. So that is same as average of n square minus average n whole square. So all of you know how to get this from this? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you otherwise you try to do this. Okay. So now I will give you a problem. The same die problem, but you are having a two dice. Okay. So each die can give you the values 1 to 6. Other one is also you can get value 1 to 6. Now you are tossing both at a time, okay, and probability for each phase is 1 by 6 only. So there are die A and die B. Now the question is, what is the number you get, the total number you get after each trial? What are the possible numbers you can get after each trial? The number means the sum of the numbers you are getting from each die.
So from 2 to 12.
2 to 10. So your sample space will be 2 to 12. Okay. So all of you understood now. So first time when you may get 1 and here you may get 1. So 1, 1, you got 2. Okay. So next time here 1, here is 2. So that is 3. And so on. So maximum thing you can get is the addition is 6 plus 6, 12. So minimum is 2 and maximum is 12. Now sample space is clear, and what is the probability for each of these numbers 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. What is the probability for P2 occur?
1 by 11.
1 by 11. So one answer I am getting is 1 by 11.
1 by 36.
Another answer is 1 by 36. Any other answer?
So I think 1 by 36.
1 by 36. Because you have to see how many ways you can get each of these, right? So 2 you can get it how many ways? Only one way. But 3, number 3, you can get how many ways?
2 ways.
2 ways.
2 ways. 1, 2 and 2, 1. And number 4?
3.
3.
3 ways. Okay, 1, 2, 1, 3, then okay, 1, 3, then 2, then 1, 3 and 3, 1. Obviously that will happen. And 2, 2, then what is next?
3 ways only.
That's it, sir.
The how many ways you can get?
3.
3 ways only. So which is the number you can get maximum number of ways?
So 7.
7.
7. Okay. So you will have a 36 possibilities. Okay. You all can go and see that. There are 36 possibilities to get these numbers. Okay. So out of 36, the number 2 probability will be 1 by 36. The probability for number 3, what is the probability for number 3?
1 by 18.
2 by 36, that is 1 by 18. So you said that 7 is the number you can get maximum number of ways. Let us see what are the number of ways you can get that. One is 1, 5 and 5, 1.
1, 6.
1, 6 and 6, 1. And then 2, 5 and phi 2, then 3 4 and 4 3. That's it, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So there are 6 by, so P7 is 6 divided by 36. So that is 1 by, is it correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So I will give you a formula, see whether that formula will be actually you can actually by inspection you can get that formula. Anyway, I am not interested that right away. You can actually find out what is delta n, what is n, what is n square. So these 3 quantities you find out. First find out average n square and delta n. These 3 quantities you
What is delta?
sorry. So I said variance of n. So variance of n is n square minus n square. Then square root of variance is the standard deviation. So sigma is equal to square root of average n square minus average n square. Okay. So that is basically the standard deviation, or sigma, or you call it as delta n. Okay. So delta n. And relative fluctuation. So relative fluctuation is delta n divided by n, average n. Okay. That is the relative fluctuation. You can calculate that also. Okay. So the question is, you have taken here 2 dies, right? So are they distinguishable? Is these 2 dies distinguishable?
No.
No, sir.
No, sir.
They are indistinguishable, right?
Yes, sir.
So you can classically you can make it indistinguishable. Okay. But in your calculation practically you never use that property. Do you use anywhere? Because is 1/6 same as 6/1?
Realistically, yes.
Okay. But as a classical particle, classical die, okay, because you have this die A which can give you the numbers 1 to 6 and die B 1 to 6, okay, and they are at a different location, right? Space means they cannot exist the same point or same position, right? A and B. So when I say 1/6, so I have another person there. So I am actually taking the die A and another person is taking the die B. So when I say 1/6, that means I got 1 and other person got 6. And when I say 6/1, that means I got 6 and other person got 1. Are they same or different?
They're different.
Different.
They are different. Even those die I am having and the one he is having or he or she is having the same indistinguishable, that if I put it in a box and if I show, okay, if I interchange, and you will not be able to say which is what and what is this. Okay, that is a different thing. But in this experiment, whatever the experiment you are doing, they are distinguishable. Okay, practical thing they are distinguishable. But when you go to quantum mechanics, okay, so when I start quantum mechanics, somebody may be thinking that, okay, again Sir is starting on the quantum mechanics, okay, but you cannot live without quantum mechanics. So I had to talk, okay. So all the classical particles have a certain classical statistics follows, okay, that is what we just now what we have done. But when you get into the quantum mechanics, you have to think about different statistics. So in the case of, there are 2 types of particles, in quantum mechanics. What are the two types of particles? Anybody?
Fermions and bosons.
Yeah, fermions and bosons. So what are bosons?
Energy carrier particles like photons.
Yeah, you are giving an example. Okay. So what is the basic difference between fermions and bosons?
Bosons are particles with integral spin.
Mhm.
Fermions are particles with half integral spin.
Okay.
Many bosons can occupy a single state, while fermions occupy 6 different.
Yeah, so there are so many difference between them. One of the important difference between them is, okay, one of the important similarity between them is they both are indistinguishable particles. Okay, both of them are indistinguishable particles. So any fermion or boson means one class of, say, if you take two photons, they are indistinguishable. If you do any experiment or anything with them, okay, so it does not bind. It's not like these two dyes, okay. So even if you take two electrons, they are indistinguishable. They're indistinguishable in the sense that if they have the same energy and whatever the quanta associated with that. So, but bosons and fermions are indistinguishable particles. Because of that reason, main difference coming between them is if you interchange two bosons, suppose there are two bosons occupying two places, okay. If you interchange two bosons, okay, we have been discussing about the wave functions or the state, right? State or the wave functions earlier. Then the wave function does not change, okay. So there is, for example, this A and B classically, suppose they are bosons. I take this boson here and this boson here. Suppose they are bosons. Then what you get is the wave function of the second one will be same as the earlier one. So quantum mechanically they have the same wave function or same state. But the fermions, if you do that, anybody can give me the answer if you know. What you do? What you get?
It will be, sir, anti-symmetric wave function.
You get an answer. So instead of saying the same wave function, the better way of saying that is, if the bosons, if you interchange the particle, you get a symmetric wave function. So boson wave functions are symmetric wave functions. In the case of fermions, if you interchange particle, because under interchange the wave function is actually anti-symmetric wave function. So it will acquire a negative sign, okay, extra negative sign. So let us do, so the same calculation let us do in a for bosons and fermions. Same, because instead of say 1 to 6, you can call it as a energy levels of this die, okay. 1 to 6 in some units, energy levels of die B. So what is the total energy possible in this calculations? 2 units to up to 12 units. Okay, you can say that. So what are the possibility to get that energy 2? It is either 1, 6 and 6, 1 in the classically. Similarly, we have done all these things. So probability to get the energy 7 units is 6 by 36 or 1 by 6. Now let us look at this particle A and particle B as first we will do them, treat them as a bosons. After that we will treat them as a fermions. So we have already seen that this, when you say 1, 2, the classically 1, 2 and 2, 1 are different. Okay, 1, 2 and 2, 1 are different classically. But quantum mechanically they are not different. This particular state and this particular state are not different, because there is a superposition principle in quantum mechanics. Okay, there is also a concept of entanglement. So I just, because this is not the class to learn entanglement, but you see the very important, nowadays you know how quantum technology is very important for the whole world and our nation. So these are the one of the building block. Entanglement is the one of the basic fundamental thing. So that happens because of quantum mechanics. Classically, you cannot have entanglement between this 1, 2 and 2, 1. Quantum mechanically, you can have entanglement between these states. So that when you measure, you either get this or that. Okay. So I don't want to get into more into that, but let us do the calculation. So earlier we have been representing, so you have two states, no? So let us look at the boson. And you have each boson, there are two bosons you are looking at. So what we want to do is for bosons, for each boson particle is having basically the 6 energy levels. So you have the question is, if you have two bosons, and what is the total energy, right? And what are the states corresponding to that? So first, both are having one energy unit. So that basically epsilon equal to 2. So 2 energy units. So you can actually represent that state as 1, 1. So this corresponds to first particle in the first energy level, and second particle is also on the first energy level. So when epsilon equal to 3, the options are basically first one is in first energy level and second one is in second energy level. But when I write like this, the problem is this is a boson, so it under interchange of the particle it should be same, but that is not happening. So best way to get that is 2, 1. So usually when because the normalization constant you can easily find out, it will be always 1 by root 2 when you take the system like that. So because these energy levels, so you have energy levels get j can take values from 1 to up to 6, that is what you are saying. So for a given one given particle, bra j k will be delta jk, because each of these energy levels are orthogonal to each other. Okay. So if you take inner product with this self, so first one is 1 and second one is 1, so you can see there is only 1, right? So you get 1. But if you take the inner product of this with itself, suppose this is not there, what are you going to get? So you get 2, you get, right? So to normalize that, you put 1 by root.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
So what actually does the particular energy level mean in this case?
What can you just repeat once more?
The bra j k that equal to delta jk, since they are orthogonal. So what does that perpendicular energy level actually mean?
It's not perpendicular energy level. So that basically this see, you have energy levels, okay, 6 energy levels, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Basically there are this many states, energy states possible for that given particle. Okay, so each of them are having energies epsilon 1, epsilon 2 up to epsilon 6. Okay, so this energy actually I just to give you, because you asked that question, this actually there is some Hamiltonian, okay, and its eigen states are basically these levels, and eigenvalues are these 1, 2, 3, 4, the energy values in the energy unit. Okay. So if you write something like this, a J, you get J. Okay. So this J is the energy value and this is the energy state. So suppose that particle is in the second state. So suppose this state, that means that particle is having energy 2 in energy unit. Suppose the particle is in the sixth energy state, that means that particle is having the energy 6 unit. Okay. So that is what we have seen even in the harmonic oscillator case, right? The harmonic oscillator case, we have different energy levels possible. There you denote it as a ket n. So this is ket 0, ket 1, ket 2, etc. So the energy for this one is basically half h cross omega. It's a ground state energy. So when the harmonic oscillator is in the ground state, it is having an energy half h cross omega. This is energy E and this is position. And this is the potential. So classically you know that any energy is possible, but quantum mechanically, in the case of quantum mechanical harmonic oscillator, only these discrete energy levels are possible. In between energy values are not possible. So the particle can be either in this state or this state or this state or this state, or the superposition of those. Okay, I don't want to get into more of those. So here this the boson can have any of these 6 energy levels possible. So when you are saying that it is having a 6th energy unit, that means it is in the 6th energy state ket J, that is in the ket 6. So in notation, ket 6 is a abstract notation. Okay. So if there is abstract operator, the ket operator, the Hamilton operator acting on that, you get eigenvalue and that state itself. Is it clear now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now let us do at least 2 or 3 more. So what about epsilon equal to 3? What are the possible ways you can? So this is 2, this is 3, and what we need is a 4 nest. What are the possible things for that? If I have 4, yesterday we already written that, right? So one possibility is 1, 3. Obviously this is not symmetric under thing, so I have to add 3, 1, okay, and normalization 1 by root 2. So next thing is 2, 2, because if I interchange these 2 particles, goes of symmetric under interchange of the particles, so this is also possible. Anything else is possible? No. Okay. So you have 2 levels which can give you energy 4. You have one level which can give you total energy 3. There is only one level which can give you energy 2. So now you see what is, for example, suppose I want, because in earlier case, in the case of 2 classical thing, for that times the total is 7. What was the probability for that P7? How much you got yesterday for the classical 2 dice?
1 by 6.
1 by 6. Okay. So that was the most probable, right? Now let us look at 7 here, because you can write down all other things. Let us just look at epsilon equal to 7. So epsilon equal to 7, what are you going to get? What are the possibilities?
1, 6 and 6 1.
1, 6 plus 6, 1. With a normalization 1 by root 2. Then 1, 2, 5, right? 5, 2. Again normalization.
3, 4 and 4, 3.
Then 1 by root 2, 3, 4 plus 4, 3. Okay. Anything else possible? No. So there are 3. So now I will give you, there are total 21 ways the states possible. Okay. In this case, total 21 possible. So what will be the probability to have this one? Energy 7? 3 upon 21 or 1 over 7. Right? Now let me ask you a question. Is there any other state with energy, some other energy level, can have 3 possibilities?
So I think 6 and 8 can also have it.
So 6 what are the possibility? I don't write it in terms of the state. 6 is basically you can do 3, 3, right? This can be obtained by 3, 3, then 2, 4, 4, 2, then 1, 5, 5, 1 with the normalization, okay? That is, there are 3 states, okay? 1 second. So can you think about some energy level which is more than 3 possible?
No, sir.
No, there is no possible. So this energy 7 is not the most probable because there are other states also possible with the same probability. Okay, so only 21 possibilities are there. So number of possibilities reduced because of this is boson and symmetric under interchange of the particles. Okay, so now I am giving you an exercise. Find out all those 21 levels. So energy possible things are, what are the energy possible levels in this case? 2 is possible, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All these things are possible. Okay. So in each of them you find out different ways of getting those states. Now let us look at fermion. Okay.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
sir, why are the states above 12 not possible?
Why are the states?
Greater than 12, like 30 and 14 not possible?
No, you have maximum energies for one boson is 6, right? Another one is also 6. Okay. So if the both particles are in the highest energy level, it is having 6 energy unit, it is having 6 energy unit. So I am now given you what are the possible energy levels. That is, each particle is having a possible energy level from 1 unit to 6 unit. Okay. Now the maximum you can get is 12. The minimum you can get it is 2. So it is between 2 and 12. But between 2 and 12 itself you have to see whether the states you are going to write actually satisfy all our properties of that particular particle. Okay. So in the case of bosons you can actually, I already done 4 5 states. Okay, 4 5 energy levels possible. You can fill the other ones between 2 and 12. So the total possible levels are 21. But in the classical case there are 36 levels possible. And the probability for the highest probable for P7 classically was having 1 by 6. But in the case of bosons it is how much you got? 3 by 21, 1 by 7. Okay. Even P3, what was the P3 in the classical case? To get energy 3? Classical case. 1 by 18. 1 by 18. What about in the boson case? P3?
It's 1 by 21.
1 by 21. You can see the probabilities are different. You can actually find out average N, okay, average energy, all those quantities you can find out, and variance you can find out. You can find out the relative fluctuation for all these things, okay. So you do those things because those are just routine calculations. Now look at fermion. In the case of fermion, let us look at first possible, because we can think about is 2, right? 2 energy level. So if it's epsilon equal to 2, what are the possibilities? What? Yeah? 1, 1. Is it possible? So fermion is, if you interchange the particle, actually the state should acquire a negative sign, or it is antisymmetric under interchange of particles. Okay. So if I interchange 1 and 1, you get the same thing, right? You don't get a minus of that. Do you get? No. Right? So idea is, so basically the first particle is in the energy level 1, second particle is in the energy level 1. So basically if you draw like this, so first particle is here, second particle is here. Now I take this particle and put it here, and the particle and here. Okay. In the case of boson, no problem because it is symmetric. I can have that. But in the case of fermion, I cannot have this one here and this one here. Why? Because it should be antisymmetric. That is basically coming from Pauli's exclusion principle. Because two fermions can't have the same energy state. Not just energy state, because all the quantum numbers. Because that is the reason you have been doing this for maybe, I don't know when you started learning the how many for example first energy level of an atom, how many electrons are possible. You call it as S level, right? S level, how many electrons are possible? 2. Okay. Why are you able to put 2 there? Because one is energy is there, but there is also a spin quantum number coming into the picture. Okay. So electron spin, because there the fermion is an electron. So I can have a 1 electron with a 1 energy level with a plus half H cross spin, another electron with a minus half H cross. So these are basically 2 different quantum states. So I can put 2 in that, but both are not the same state. But here I am not talking about anything else. Only energy state is the only state possible. So I cannot put here and here. So it has to be somewhere. So 1, 1 is not possible in the case of fermion. Okay. It's basically coming from antisymmetric thing or the Pauli exclusion principle. Okay. So epsilon 2 is not possible at all. What about epsilon 3?
One, two, two,
1, 2. So 1, 2 alone, let me think about 1, 2 alone. Is it possible? If I interchange, do I get a negative? No. So 1, 2 alone is not possible. Then what should I do?
minus 2, 1.
Minus 2, 1. If I do plus, there is an issue. If it is a plus sign, what will happen? This will become 2, 1, this will become 1, 2. It is the same state. So it is basically the boson only will have that kind of thing. Now I should get a negative sign. So if I put minus, what will happen? This 1, 2 become 2, 1 with a positive sign, and this one 2, 1 will become 1, 2 with a negative sign. So I can get an extra negative sign if I interchange these two particles. I think you people are slowly getting it. Okay. So with a normalization. Okay. So this is something you can have. What about epsilon equal to 4? What about epsilon equal to 4?
1 3 minus 3 1.
1 3 minus 3 1. Is 2 2 possible?
No, sir.
No, sir.
2 2 is not possible. So this is the only one. So what is the probability for, okay, so I will tell you there are 15 possible states. See, number is reduced. For the classical case, 36, the boson case 21, and this case 15. So probability for 3 is 1 over 15. So you see, first case it was 1 over 18, the case of classical. When you go to the boson, it has become 2 by 21. Then the case of is epsilon 3, I am talking about the 3. It is 1 over 18, right? Classical case. Yeah?
Sir.
And in the case of bosons, what did you get?
1 by 21.
1 by 21. In the case of here, you get again 1 by 15. But you see different probabilities. Okay? So, there are 21 cases. So, what will be 7? Let us look at the 7. What are the possibility for epsilon equal to 7? Because that was the maximum probable one in the case of classical case. Epsilon equal to 7, what you get? Yes?
Sir, we can get 3 states.
We can get three states, 1, 6, and it is minus 1, and 2, 5, and minus 1, and 3, 4, and minus 1. So, is there any other state more than 3 possible?
No, sir.
Is there any other state 3 possible? To check whether this is the maximum probable one. If you understood, you answer the question.
So maximum is 3, sir.
Maximum is 3. Maximum is 3. Is this 7 is the only possible one?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, somebody else was saying something.
So epsilon equal to 9. Oh, that is not possible. Okay.
Epsilon equal to 9. Let us look at epsilon equal to 9. So what are the possibilities?
So 1 8 2 7 and 3 6.
1 8. We have only up to 6. Only you have up to 6. Up to 6 is possible for a given particle. Okay? You cannot have a more than 6 for a given particle. So maximum 6 only. So the other one can have, if it is 9, other can have 3, right? 6 and 3 is possible. So it with this antisymmetric thing 3 6 with a normalization. What else is possible for 9?
4 5.
4 5 with an antisymmetric 5 4. Okay. Anything else?
No, sir.
So this is 2 only. This is only 2. So in that case, the maximum probable is basically the 7. Okay. So in the classical case and fermion case, you have the maximum probable energy level is 7. Okay. But the probability are different. So I just give you 2 minutes. Write down all 15 possible energy levels for fermion. Okay. I'll give you 5 minutes because I just want to know whether you understood the idea, because I'll not ask you anything regarding this in your quiz. Okay. Do not worry about that, because you have to do a quantum mechanics first to understand these things. But at least a probability concept and a symmetric and antisymmetric wave function, because you have even done the 1s level, 2s level, 2p level, all these things you have done earlier without knowing quantum mechanics. But you cannot write down those things without knowing quantum mechanics, okay? But you have done that. Similarly, this also you can do without knowing much quantum mechanics, but only this some concept. So write down all 15 energy levels for fermion, because already I have written a couple of them. So I'll give you 5 minutes.
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, why can't, for example, epsilon equal to 3, why can't we have 2, 1 minus 1, 2?
2 1 minus 1 2, that is same as this, okay? So 2 1 minus 1 2 is same as this, okay? This is what you are talking, right? So this is one and this is one. Okay, there is another important theorem in quantum mechanics. Okay, suppose I have a state, any state psi, which represent a quantum mechanical system. Okay, suppose this represent this. It is not possible to represent this one using a simple state like this, but just for a electron or proton or a simple particles or the energy levels of the system. Okay, so I am representing one physical system using this as a ket psi. Quantum mechanics tell you that one of the postulates, e power I phi into ket psi also represent the same physical state. Okay, for any phi. So ket psi represent a physical state. E power I phi into ket psi also represent the same physical state. So this is basically, what is the difference between this and this? There is a e power I pi sitting outside, right? If I put a e power I pi here, I will get this. Yes or no? If I multiply this with e power I pi, do I get this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So that is basically, this is constant phase outside. Okay, so any constant phase outside, okay, of a state multiply with a state, okay, it represents the same physical state. So this and this are same system. Okay, so if you, because you have to take a 1 minus outside, that is basically e power I pi. Yeah, I'll give you 5 minutes. Just write down all 15 states and energy levels possible. So now let us look at some trials you are doing. There are n trials, okay? Capital N trials you are doing. Now you suppose there are only two possibilities. You can call it as success or failure, okay? So you call the probability to occur at the success, okay, is, so there is a random variable n, okay? So this n can have two possibilities, okay? One is either it occurs with a success with a probability p, and what will be the probability to occur failure then? If p is the probability to occur success, what will be the probability to occur failure? 1 minus p. I am calling that as q, that is equal to 1 minus p. Okay. So p can be take value anywhere between 0 and 1. So q also can take correspondingly the value between 0 and 1. So for one event or one set of trials, the p and q are fixed. That can be half, that can be 0.3, 0.7 and so on. And this kind of trials are called Bernoulli trials. Okay. So there is one success, there is either success or failure, and success probability is p and other one is 1 minus p. So this kind of trials are called Bernoulli trials. So now let me ask you a question. This n, so you are saying that you are doing capital N trials, okay, you are doing capital N trials. And what is the probability to have, when you make capital N trials, n times, okay, n times you get success? Okay, is the question clear? I am making capital N trials. Okay, so out of that capital N trials, what is the probability to have small n number of times you get success? So what are the values n can take? What is the sample space of n?
0 to n minus 1.
0 to n.
0 to n or 0 to n minus 1?
0 to n.
N, sir.
0 to n. So sample space of n is 0 to n. So what is the probability to have n success?
Capital N C n p power small n into 1 minus p power n minus 1.
But let us give an explanation for that. What you said is correct. Okay, this is the probability to have n success, small n success out of capital N trials. That is n C n. This is basically binomial coefficient n factorial divided by small n factorial and capital N minus n factorial. P power n. So how do you explain this? How are you getting this? Anybody?
Sir, the probability is multiplicative. So here is the probability of n success along with the probability of n capital N minus small n, failure. So just
Yeah, so-
multiplying the
Yeah, so you have a small n times success, so p power n, right? So that is basically success probability, right? And then the failure is basically the remaining thing. But how many ways you can get out of capital N this small n? Okay, you can get n c n ways. So you have to add all of them, all those probability you have to add. Okay, so that is basically you get, so n factorial divided by n minus n factorial n factorial. So this is the probability to have small n number of success when you make capital N number of trials. Okay, for example, capital N is equal to 1. You are just making one trial. So what is the probability? And you are saying that the probability and failure are having same probability, half. So what is the probability of, so what is the sample space when I am only making n is equal to 1? What is the sample space for small n?
0 and 1.
0 and 1, right? So what is the probability to have 0 success?
Q.
No, don't do any calculation. You have probability to have, I am saying the P is off and Q is cut off.
When there are only
What is the probability to have 0 success in a capital N is equal to 1 trial?
1 by 2.
1 by 2. What is the probability to have 1 success? 1 by 2. Okay. If the success is probability is P, then this is 0 will be, P0 will be Suppose probability is not half, okay, P and Q. P can take any value. So what will be P0? Q. And P1? P. So you can actually generalize that and get this, okay. So you can put n is equal to 2, you can see. So any question on this part? Because now we have to find out average n, delta n, the standard deviation, okay, and relative fluctuation. So all this quantity we have to find out for this. So this distribution is called binomial distribution, okay. So this distribution is called binomial distribution. You may be knowing this already, okay, but so this distribution is called binomial distribution. So next class what we will do is we will try to find out these quantities, then move over to the geometric distribution, then we will go to the Poisson distribution, that is very important distribution for physicists. So many phenomena happens in physics actually give a Poisson statistics and so on, okay. So we will stop here for time being and we will start tomorrow from this.